Welcome everyone to Everyday Ethics. I must tell you that it is actually Persephone's fault that we are a little bit late today because she was telling me a story that I think she is going to share with you right now before we get to our main topic. So go ahead, Persephone.
Okay, so yesterday we were talking about trans people and whether there has been an increase in detransition rates over the last. My question was whether there's been an increase in detransition rates over. Hi, Catherine, over the last 15 years. So I read some of the comments from Akira on yesterday's video, and their comment was basically don't.
Just continue. I'm doing something.
Akira's comment was, "Don't let the TikTok videos make you think that the detransition rates are higher. It's like scaremongering or whatever." So
Yes.
I went to go do some further research, and what I found in my research is that we actually don't. There is no way to know if detransition rates are higher, but what I did see is that absolute numbers have indeed increased. So the absolute numbers of people who have detransitioned or who are detransitioning has increased. But the reasons for the detransition or the reasons that the numbers have increased is quite interesting. And it is because, number one, there are a lot more people choosing to transition. And therefore, because more people are transitioning, the detransition rate is going to be higher. So that was interesting. Also, the one of the reasons. Do I keep freezing?
No, I'm listening.
Well, Lee says I keep freezing.
I'm not seeing it. Just they're saying yes, but can you still hear her? Because I can hear her, and that's what really matters.
Just
They can hear you.
make
They
sure
can
that my
hear you.
face doesn't do anything embarrassing. So, what was I saying? Oh, because
You
the
were
number
talking
of
about when you transitioned. Get to it.
yes, back when I used to be a little boy. No. So, because more people are transitioning, now than have in the past, obviously the number of people who are detransitioning is going to be higher. And also the lack of follow up in the studies where they have studied whether or not people are detransitioning is really bad. So the lack of follow up in some of the studies was up to 60%. And just the methodology in a lot of the studies was kind of terrible. But there has been an increase. They also said that 38% of all studies on detransitioning have happened since 2021, and I think that's fascinating. So we've got a stunning lack of data from sort of before, but this was also really interesting. Globally and in the US, referrals to gender clinics have surged. US data shows over 17,000 youth aged 6 to 17 started puberty blockers in 2017 to 2021. Early studies focused on adults and reported low rates of regret, but more recent research post 2015 shows somewhat higher rates. Um, Rates vary because the definitions of detransitioning vary and are limited by short follow ups, high loss to follow up, 20 to 60%, and small samples. So,
Samples? They got small samples?
samples. Okay. So, in 1970s to 2000s, the regret or reversal was 1 to 6%. From 2015 onwards, it is 2 to 13% amongst the youth, and youth specific 1 to 8% stop puberty blockers, and up to 10% stop hormones. So I just thought that all of that was very interesting.
Can you summarize? Give us the Persephone take on things. That's what we need.
The
The world
Persephone
needs Persephone's take.
the Persephone take on this is that the amount of people who detransition or who regret transitioning, the numbers have indeed increased. That is because more people are transitioning. Also, the studies have been garbage, and we need better studies on this. That is my take.
All right. So today we're going to talk about. Oh, by the way, we have super chats, super stickers. Do we have a goal for today?
No, because it still says I'm not the channel owner. So what I thought was going to work didn't. Google lied to me.
Even though I made you manager?
Apparently.
Well, I don't like this at all. I think that, but we can still set a goal. We don't have to, we have to post it. You're frozen now, but you're not anymore.
You know what I think is happening is because I'm going into a different tab on my computer. So I think when I go into a different tab, my computer goes, no.
Okay, well, don't go into different tabs. Severing friendships. When is it appropriate to sever friendships? I sent Persephone an AI generated take on this that I thought was pretty good, and also an article. So it says here that the ethics of severing friendships involve balancing self-preservation with compassion, acknowledging that while toxic ties must end for well-being, doing so requires respect, minimizing harm, and recognizing shared history. And key ethical considerations include your duty to yourself versus obligations to the friend, creating least harm, maintaining dignity, deciding the friendship serves mutual good or hinders personal growth. See, some of that, again, I agree. And some of I don't. I think that the fundamental, if we're going to say right at the point of decision, on net, is this relationship beneficial to me? And the other person should be asking, is the relationship beneficial to him or her? If somebody is mistreating me, I don't have to respect the friendship. I don't have to worry about being compassionate or any of those things. My only consideration in that sense is my own well-being, my own flourishing, my own self-interest. And if being friends with somebody no longer serves my self-interest, meaning it's objectively harming me, that's what matters. Now, there's a lot of different factors that you need to consider when assessing whether this relationship is not in your interest. But I think that is the fundamental. What say the South African Queen?
What I say, no name, I think, is asking what the goal is. Even though we can't set it, the goal is that if we get to 10 super chats, we'll stream for an extra half an hour tomorrow. I agree with you. If a friendship is not serving you, then it's best to sever it. But also, one of the considerations, I think, and again, maybe this is just my upbringing and I haven't thought this through enough, but I think the how make my brain work. If your friend is harming you, right, but you've got a long-standing friendship and for a long time this relationship has served you and they are harming you right now, but you also understand that circumstances in their life are causing them to not think clearly and they have a lot of external stresses, and you know how they say that you're always your worst self to the people that you love the most.
I've heard this, yeah.
So
Hmm?
if that's what they say.
No, you didn't go, you went,
Oh, I'm sorry. So they say that you're your worst self to the people that you love the most. So if you know that your friend is going through like a really hard time and because of this they're being a bitch to you and they are treating you badly, how how long do you how long do you accept that harm before deciding that it's not worth it anymore? Because
right.
I think that's a really important consideration. Because at some point, I do think that everyone is going to harm another person, intentionally, unintentionally. I think that just happens. So, uh, I think that's a consideration that has to be made.
Yeah. And now, what do we mean by harm? Is the person verbally abusive? Is the person physically abusive? Does the person not showing up on time? There's an abundance of reasons this can happen. We'll get into more of those. But it talks about in the AI framework that I got here, it comes out with a few different ethical perspectives on ending friendship. The first one is actually the one that I like the best: self-care and stoicism. Protect your well-being by choosing companions who support your growth. It's not self-betrayal to end relationships that harm you. I agree with that million times over.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well. I don't agree. There was three that you mentioned. Well, there was three in this AI overview: beneficence and duty and obligation, and I don't agree with either of those.
We're gonna get to those. You're pulling a Valiant on me right now. You're jumping ahead.
First it's a Pellegrino and then it's a Valiant.
Yes, because what happens is you each have your different things that they have different things that they do, and now you're picking up their bad habits is what's occurring. Jim, I think, does it to me like every single time I interview him. He jumps ahead. Okay. So the beneficence says true friendship involves wishing good for the other. I agree with that. That when you're a true friend, you wish for the best for other. But the conclusion they give doesn't follow. So even in parting, strive to act in a way that wishes them well, avoiding unnecessary cruelty. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Let me retrench. I don't think I owe anybody to wish them well if they've done me harm, but unnecessary cruelty certainly should be avoided. But wishing well to somebody who has repeatedly harmed me is not my moral obligation. F more money, the 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much. Everybody should watch the interview I did with FF Mormani. It was fantastic. Beautiful young woman, very bright
Gorgeous hair.
future. Check it out. What'd you say?
Gorgeous hair.
Gorgeous hair? Yeah, she has gorgeous hair. So if you like gorgeous hair, check out the interview, but you should also check it out because she's very, very, very smart. Now, this is the duty and obligation. Consider your duty to yourself versus your perceived obligations to the friend, especially if the friendship has become unhealthy. I have no obligations to somebody that's unhealthy for me to be friends with. Zero, none. And I don't even like the word duty because my obligation to myself is chosen. It's not imposed on me by some force outside God or nature or anything else. Yeah, it was 99 cents. That's what she gave, right?
Yeah, that is what
So
she
why
gave.
so why is No Name criticizing me now?
I just think they don't like you.
They might not. I don't blame them.
I like you. I think you're funny.
Thank you. My girlfriend told me I'm kind of a dick. Like if she wanted to describe my personality, she said I can be a dick. I think what she means though is I'm blunt. That's it. I'm not here to play games in conversations.
I'm gonna be real honest with you. You are a bit of a dick sometimes.
Okay, well let's discuss my dickishness before we move on.
So today,
agreed. Persephone said she agrees.
So today,
Catherine? All right, go ahead. When was I
today I get a text message from Michael that was just one word with 4 exclamation points. And me, who's already having a bad day, interpreted that in my sad little brain as like him shouting at me. And I immediately just went, oh no. I don't think that your dickishness is on purpose. I think that sometimes over text you communicate poorly.
I'm not, I don't have much experience, but you have told me in the past that you've made the clips and just forgot to send them.
I know.
You've also told me that you will have the clips for me in the morning. And when did I send the text?
Right before the Capitalist Corner.
Right.
Like an hour,
so I actually waited over 4 hours before the text. See, I don't think that's being a dick.
No, it was the 4 exclamation points.
Because I wanted to let you know how important it was. Because I post my clips early in the morning at 11 o'clock after the capitalist corner, and then at 5. So I had already missed 2 posts at that point. Maybe the 4 exclamation points was a bit much.
I'm just dropping the ball. No, it was just a joke. I got it. It was just funny. But and also again, like, when you're having a bad day and then stuff that would
Yes.
normally just like float off your back all of a sudden becomes like a big deal. I want to know what example is invalid.
We're gonna get to that in a minute. I'm way fucking. Excuse my language. Kathy Cassio with $4.99. Thank you so much, Kathy. She says she loves us both. Robert Nacer says some people call it dickishness, some people call it humor, breaking balls, etc. It's a matter of style. Yeah, look, she says this example is invalid. I don't know which example she's talking about. But here's the problem. I am not around to cater to people's isn't referring to your scenario, to cater to people's insecurities and whims and wishes. I'm also not on this earth to be a sounding board for somebody else's problems and their viewpoints at all time. If we are going to have a friendship, it's give and take. Now, there's times when I will just listen to your problems. I mean, that's fine if that's what you need in the moment. But if you're going to come to me and badger me, and I shouldn't use the word badger, because if it's back and forth, it's not badgering, with your point of view, for instance, whether it be about politics, philosophy, economics, friendship, whatever, you don't get to just sound off to me and give me your perspective, but I can't give mine. So I'm going to respond. And if I disagree with you, I'm going to say so. If it's not okay for me to disagree with your perspective, don't give me your perspective. That's how I feel. That's what I think. I think it's reasonable. I don't give people what.
That's what makes you a good friend, though.
See, I agree, because I want somebody to do that for me. You're not just going to sound off and go through a litany of ideas that you have and I can't respond. And what happens a lot of time, I argue very efficiently. I have a good memory, and I've trained myself to think logically. I'm not going to apologize for that. So when someone will, for instance, say, "Oh, you're just good at arguing," well, what am I supposed to say? I'm sorry. Let me dial it down a little bit so that you don't feel offended, and so that you feel that your opinion's valid, but mine's not. That's just bullshit. And if you ask for my opinion on something, I'm not going to lie to you because you don't really want the opinion. If you don't want it, don't ask. That's my thoughts. Jim Valiant says, situation, good, long-lasting friendship with a former lover whose new relationship objects to the friendship. Well, that's good, Jim. I think you know my answer to this is that there's far too many factors there that I don't know. The answer to, are there still romantic feelings between the two people? How long was the relationship? What was it? What was the result of the ending of that relationship? Are the new partners' concerns realistic, objective? Have you tried talking to said partner? There's a lot of things that I just don't know in order to answer that question. Let me see. We got now.
Mr. Deagle, if someone does a big favor to you, how much consideration should you show them? A lot of people face this with their parents who use their sacrifice for you when you were a child to emotionally blackmail you into things that you don't want to do.
So if it's parents, I say fuck them, to be perfectly honest with you, because your parents have brought you into this world. And you didn't ask for that. It was their responsibility to take care of you when you were young. It's not a license to then mistreat you for the rest of your life. It's just not. So if your parents are objectively mistreating you and you are pushing back against that and they're saying to you, whoa, look at all we've done for you, screw that. Now, if you are an adult and you go to your parents when you need something, but then want them to back off, well, that's on you and that's problematic. But emotional blackmail, not cool from parents or anybody else.
He also has a follow-up. This is not an everyday thing, but if someone does something on the scale of giving you a kidney, how much shit should you take from them?
I don't know. I don't know. If the person is objectively an immoral person, I'm not taking any shit from them. But I also wouldn't ask them for a kidney in all likelihood. If somebody gives me a kidney, that's also not a license to mistreat me for the rest of my life. I'm going to judge them by the same standard I do everyone else, and that is this: if somebody is honestly working to find truth and to be a better person, I will tolerate quite a bit from them, because I know that I was the person who was at the bottom of the barrel. And I worked to fix myself, and I worked hard. So if somebody's willing to do the same, I will walk through hellfire with them. That's my personal context and my personal approach. It doesn't mean it has to be your approach, but for me, it's worth it to help somebody grow, to elevate, to get to a better point. But that has to be a decision that's assessed within your context that you live in, because you ultimately have to deal with it. Oh, that's your interpretation, not his dickness. You were having a bad day. That's what Manu was saying. Yes.
Yeah, which I agree with.
You did.
Yeah.
So consider the friendships in the fountainhead. This is from Robert Nasir. I want to say something too about Robert Nasir, because Robert Nasir is a phenomenal human being. I've been Facebook friends with him for quite some time now. His wife is actually the reason I became friends with Jim Valiant. I have much love for the Nasirs. Wonderful people. In the philosophy that I adhere to, objectivism, one of the components is supposed to be the love for life, the zest for life, romanticism, for lack of a better word. And the reason that I wanted to put this specific episode is because there's been people that have been telling me I should sever my friendship with Andrew Bernstein. When it comes to sense of life, there are no three people in my experience that embody the objectivist sense of life than Robert Nasir, Jim Valiant, and Andy Bernstein. And I'll throw in Amy Nasir as well. So we'll give you four. So that is huge for me. And when we're making ethical judgments on friendships, there's different things that we want to take into consideration. The reason people are telling me I should sever my friendship with Andy is because of his political views. And while I think a person's political views are relevant, they're not the only factor that you want to take into consideration. That person's treatment of you in general, that person's sense of life, how that person approaches everyday affairs, that person's contribution to the values that you are pursuing, that you value. Mallory, Heller, Mike, Sean, Xavier, Donegan, and of course, Henry, Cameron, and Gail. That's from the consider the latter two, Cameron versus Winan. Sound like anything going on in the objectivist community nowadays? Of course, not a direct comparison, but yeah, such judgments are far more complicated than some objectivists want to believe. Yes. I posted this the other day that Ayn Rand commended people or recommended to people that we judge and prepare to be judged. And it seems like people are very quick sometimes to do the former, judge. But when it comes to preparing to be judged, it's a different story. And I explained to a few people, and I pointed out to them, and they accused me of basically committing the two cocaine fallacy of what about you? But that wasn't my point. When I pointed out their flaws, I could point to my own. But I pointed to theirs to show them by your own logic, I could just as easily cut you off. But people, a lot of times have that blind spot for themselves. But yes, absolutely, Robert, people make this out to be much, much easier than it actually is. Let me see. Mike, you are very zesty. Yes.
So No Name said that they ghost people, and I asked why. And they said maybe because they're having trouble telling the truth. I think that's interesting.
You want to hear my dickishness on this?
Yes, always.
I think ghosting is cowardice.
Yes, I
I really
also
do.
think so.
Not let me reframe it. Not always. When I think ghosting, I think you just ghost somebody with no explanation, and I think in most cases that's wrong. I can, however, see if somebody is physically abusing you, by all means ghost them.
Yes.
But in most cases, I think it's best to tell the person why you no longer want to be their friend. You don't even have to be polite about it. I'm not saying that. I just think that if your reason for not doing it is because of fear of confrontation or fear of conflict, that should not be the deciding factor in not saying something.
So my issue with this, specifically with not telling the truth, right? If you're ghosting people because you have problems telling the truth, I'm gonna make an assumption that something has happened and you didn't want to talk to this friend or this person about it, and that's not serving you in the long run, because a lot of the time it is better just to have the discussion with the person. That's my
Right.
opinion.
Me too. And Robert Nasir says something, and I don't even know if it was for this, but it applies. And it also applies to making friends, which is what I think he's talking about. Vulnerability is strength. Put yourself out there, people. Consider using your real name everywhere. Okay, it didn't apply to the ghosting thing, but it's true nonetheless. I'm sorry, Persephone.
Yep, I agree with that. Vulnerability is strength. So let me just use an example from my own life. So I have a friend who occasionally is can be quite mean to me, and sometimes she says things that really upset me. And if I just went, okay, well, she's being a bitch to me, I'm just gonna cut her off, I'm just gonna ghost her, then that's there is value in the friendship. That's not the only thing. She's not just a bitch to me. She's also a good friend of mine. And there have been times when I have had to sit down with her, not immediately after the thing happens, but like a couple of days later, bring it up in conversation and say, listen, this is what happened. This is what you did. And it upset me for these reasons. And then we've had a chat about it. She's explained why she said it. She's apologized. And we've continued. And our friendship is stronger for having had that conversation. And I think that if you are too scared to tell your friends or your potential friends how you really feel, then it's going to be really difficult for you to make real, lasting friendships.
Quite right. They're talking about shyness, and people may be surprised to know that I used to be very, very shy.
I used to be so shy.
So I want to I'm sorry, Persephone. Go ahead and comment on that. Let me find what I'm looking for on your shyness.
There's nothing else to say. When I was younger, I was very shy. I also didn't like to put myself out there. I didn't like to tell people how I feel. Um, and like with everything, if you have things in your life that you don't like, you work on them, and it's uncomfortable and it sucks, and you suck it up and you fucking do it anyway.
Persephone, you rock. Mr. Deagle mentioned something that's a little bit of objectivist inside baseball, but I think the point is valid, so I'm going to say it. He says a lot of people took a side on the Leonard Kira issue as soon as it came out, but if you have no direct insight into their relationship, you simply can't make a judgment. You, sir, are absolutely correct. If you are sitting on Facebook or Twitter and trying to judge somebody else's relationship, it's a very poor thing. I'm friends with Jim Valiant, who's very close to Leonard Peikoff. I interviewed James on this very topic, and I don't say what I think about it because I simply don't know. I don't know the dynamics of the relationship, and I don't know all the facts. So I just keep my trap shut. But I did see a lot of people very quickly coming out with their viewpoint on this thing, one way or the other. And I just don't agree with doing that. I think that when you judge, you must have the proper information. And if you don't, you just suspend judgment, especially when it's something that's not your business and really doesn't affect you anyway. Um, that's my take on that. Uh,
Yeah.
whoa, no name. Maybe because you're Michael Liebowitz. What?
she went to the Michael Liebowitz school of having no filter. Because
Oh,
that's true. That's true. You do have no filter. And also, no name confidence is something that you can build.
you can build. Yes, you can. All right, we're over time. I have to meet Danny for coffee and then dinner. We didn't even make it through all the articles, but we did have, I think, a productive discussion. I thought it was wonderful. Persephone, you are wonderful. The audience is wonderful. Thank you so much for super chats, super stickers, and thank you for joining us every day. Persephone, you may say goodbye before I do.
And don't forget that you can also submit any questions or dilemmas that you have on the Capitalist Corner website.
Boom.
Goodbye.
Yes, you can. Love you all. Be back tomorrow. Until then, don't forget, be ethical.